It's springtime and you are super excited to get the fly rod out. You throw the fly rod in the Jeep or the truck and you head to your favorite river or stream. You get there and you realize you cannot fish this. It is 100% blown out with dirty, fast water. Yes, this happens to the best of us. Spring runoff is very challenging. However, it can be a very fun time to get out and catch some big fish. In today's episode of B.O.C. with Ketter, we will talk all things spring runoff. Join us as we have a special guest as well. Kick it off and welcome you to B.O.C. with Ketter. You're actually my first guest, so thanks for coming on and
Heck yeah.
chit-chatting with me. I appreciate it, man. I'll go ahead and introduce you. Thomas
Sure.
and I grew up together back in Minnesota, and he now lives in Colorado. Remind me again, where in Colorado?
Yeah, I'm in Centennial, so I'm just on the south side of Denver.
Okay, south side of Denver. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. That's great. So kick us off. I don't know if I told you, but I always do a little beverage before I go. Do you happen to have a little beverage in your hand?
Heck yeah. I can go grab
Awesome.
one just a
Yeah,
second.
grab a little bevy.
I do. Actually, I've got a good one. This one's a Colorado
Ooh.
classic.
Yeah, what do you get? Hey,
Little yellow jacket.
I love that. I got a Minnesota classic, a Ham's beer.
Oh
So
yeah.
I don't know if you've
Oh
ever
yeah. I
had
love a
Ham's,
ham.
but yeah, they taste
Oh
pretty
yeah.
good. But cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Awesome. Well, cool. We'll kind of kick this off. I know we talked a little bit. I kind of want to focus on winter and spring runoff season and your area. From just doing a little research, I hear people kind of call it like Rocky Mountain runoff. So kind of
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
get your perspective on that and kind of compare how that looks from your region compared to, kind of where I am in the Minnesota Driftless area. So kick you off
Yeah,
by just
definitely.
asking you a question. Obviously, this is depending on the weather and everything, but what is a typical time of the year that is going to start to really pick up out in your area?
So yeah, it kind of depends on weather, not only the current weather, but a little bit of the snowpack from the winter too. So this year we actually are pretty far below the normal average for snowfall. Um, and so the runoff honestly hasn't been too bad, um, which has been nice. So we've been able to get some good fishing in on some of the free stream rivers before, where in past years we would have already had some pretty bad runoff by now. So the snowpack was below normal, but we're finally starting now, and it's the end of May to
Yeah.
start getting some warmer weather up in the mountains. So the runoff has definitely picked up. I would say probably the last week to
Okay.
2 weeks. A lot of rivers, depending on the location, are starting to see a lot more water. Um, but yeah, usually starting off in early May to probably the first week of June, depending on
Dang.
the year, is usually when, and then it hits probably the hardest that first week of June, and
Okay.
then from there you get the trail off, and
That's good.
usually lasts till about July. So usually every year after I'll go back to Minnesota for the 4th of July, and
Mhm.
then once I get back to Colorado in the mid-July, that's usually when you can start hitting some of the like higher elevation freestone streams again.
That is crazy, man. Because like obviously in Minnesota, like we get out of that spring and it's like March and everything melts and we have like 2 weeks of just runoff and the streams are blown out. They're terrible. And 2 weeks later, you're good. You're fishing in like Minnesota opener April.
Right.
There's no such thing
Yeah.
normally as any runoff. That's crazy that you're kind of dealing with that all the way into July. That just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, it really is. And it like if you think about it, the elevation, I mean, you can be
Yeah.
fishing down at 6,000 feet and you could have another 8,000 feet of elevation above you and the temperature change from where you're at to up there. I mean, it could be 70 where you're fishing and
Yeah.
30 degrees and snowing up top still.
Dang.
And so it really prolongs that runoff, which really sucks. Some of the your favorite rivers are the freestone rivers that you want to go fish and you just can't, and you have to wait until the middle end of summer to go up and hit them. So
Yeah.
it's definitely frustrating, but the more I've fished out here and the better I've got
Mhm.
finding ways to go fish some of the more difficult spots that are tail races below dams. A lot more competitive, a lot more pressure.
Yeah.
But once you get better and you start to figure out how to fish some of those spots, you
Mhm.
end up having a lot more luck. So
Yeah.
that's been a big change and since moving out here 3 years ago. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's been 3 years, huh? Dang.
yep, 3 years since. out. Yep.
Dang. Yeah, it's got to be a pretty intense adjustment. Did you fly fish in the Midwest at all, or did you get into it out there?
No, I had a fly rod that my grandpa had given us, and I had taken it down to the Kimmel Dam and caught a couple carp on it a few times.
Dude, that's
And
sick,
that's the
actually.
extent of my fly fishing. Yeah.
That's awesome. People around
So
here like
other
are
than that, I
really
don't fly
into
fish.
carp fishing. That's awesome. It's like a big thing on the rivers here to chase carp on a fly rod. So nothing
Right.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, that was the extent of my fishing. So most of it I've had to learn just YouTube videos and friends that I've met out here. And so it's
That's
been a
awesome, man.
journey, that's for sure.
I bet. And then you kind of
Yeah.
segue into my next question. Is there times when like, okay, you got Saturdays coming up, weekends coming up, you're like, I'm going fly fishing. Is there times in this period where you get to a river and you're like, there is a 0% chance I can fish this just due to the runoff?
Oh yeah. So a little better about it now, just the more I know.
Mhm.
But the first 2 years and even so last year, it sticks out to me. I had like three different spots in my mind that I wanted to go fish, and I got to all three of them. Two of them were running so fast. I mean, it was physically impossible to fish. And the other one, there was so much road or so much snow on the access road to get to where I wanted to fish. They still had it all shut down. The Forest Service did, and I couldn't even get up to it.
That
So
sucks.
it really is tough. But the more you know it, the more you learn about rivers. And I've gotten better about making sure I'm going online and checking up. Most of these rivers
Yeah.
have the flow meters on them, so you can usually
Yeah.
go up and look what they're running. And I'm not always the best too at knowing what flow rates
Same.
make some rivers unfishable.
Yeah.
And so that's where some like a couple guys that I met here through my men's hockey league that I play in are really big into fly fishing. So
Mhm.
on Friday night, Thursday night, I'll always text them. I'm like, hey, this river's flowing this. Do you think it's too fast to go fish? And so that's been a huge help too.
That is sweet. Yeah, I've recently just kind of started to understand CFS myself, and it's like I would never think about that a couple years ago. I would just be like, I'm going fishing today. Like I don't care. And then it's like,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
there is times where it's like if you're gonna go out there, you should do a little bit of research, especially in your area. I'm sure it's way more intense, but even in the driftless, like there's times where like on the Kinney River, in Wisconsin, which
Yeah.
is considered a bigger river for this area, it's like check that gauge on trout routes, and sometimes it's not worth going.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I've definitely been burned by that. And it sucks too. It's like you drive an hour and a half to go somewhere to
Yeah.
fish, check a few spots and nothing's good. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, then you just waste your morning driving back
Exactly.
home.
That is the worst.
So,
Do you have like a couple local streams, or do you normally have to go about an hour-ish to start finding water?
yeah. The closest spot to me, the like, and a lot of people know it as the South Platte
Yeah.
in Deckers. So that's about a 50-minute drive from my place. It's not that far, but there's just no good roads to get there. But yeah, the South Platte's definitely my local spot. I can head out there after work and go get a good 2 3 hours in before I have to start heading back to Denver.
Yeah.
So if like those, the nice part about Deckers too is that's all controlled flow below the Cheeseman
Oh,
Canyon and Cheeseman Dam. So that spot you can usually avoid the big runoff days. There'll be some days where it's unfishable when they're letting a ton of water out. But for the most part, that's a spot even in runoff you can usually get to and go fish. But obviously dealing with all the crowds from Denver. So
yeah.
that's makes it a little less attractive sometimes.
I bet so. I bet so. Awesome, man. Cool. So obviously we're talking about fly fishing and catching fish. So this time of the year, obviously there's challenges. We've been discussing that. It's rivers flowing very hard and dirty water. So in your observations, how does this affect the fish behavior in your area?
Yeah, so obviously once the water starts getting up this high, they're not going to be sitting out in the current. So it's a lot of back eddy stuff. You're fishing super close to the bank, usually not standing in the water. And one thing I've noticed is you really have to change your fly game. Like you're so used to trying to get like a natural small presentation, and when this stuff starts to happen, you really got to go big and get some color in there, um, like a squirmy wormy and a bright red or bright pink or bright orange or purple. Have had got a lot of good luck on that.
Yeah.
And then really sizing up your flies too and using some bigger sizes, which fishing out here on some of the bigger, more well-known rivers, you get so used to trying to go, you're fishing size 22 midges and stuff. And so it's really hard to go and want to tie those on because I never have good luck on big flies and that kind of stuff. But once that runoff hits, yeah, definitely sizing up. and then really just changing where you're looking for fish. You're looking for that slow, like the 2% slow water
Yeah.
that's still on the river behind the little rocks right in the bank, or little banks, or big brush piles, things like that. And so it just, you got to train yourself, one, to tie on bigger and brighter flies, and two, to really look for that slow water. I mean, even slack water, stuff that you wouldn't
Yeah.
normally think fish are sitting in. And I've had the best luck doing that. And really, like I said, just not even getting off the bank. Like a lot of times,
Mhm.
staying on dry land and just fishing that 2 feet right off the bank, which
Yeah.
is, it's just weird. You're never used to doing that, or looking for fish there, in some of these bigger rivers like that. And so that's definitely the biggest, like two or three biggest things that I've had to pick up on and kind of train myself to fish during this time of year on some
Yeah.
of those higher flow freestone rivers. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a completely different game. And like when I'm going out in the early spring around here, I'm bringing really three flies with me. I'm bringing all my streamers, the biggest, nastiest, brightest, ugliest streamers I got. I'm
Yep.
bringing a mop fly if I want a nymph, and I'm bringing
Yep.
some squirmy wormies. Like
Yeah.
everything else, keeping it at home because there's no reason. They're not going to see it. They're not going to try to go after, something small like a little bug that time of the year. So it's like, all right, this is not really finessey fly fishing. This is just like we're going out there and we're hucking streamers and hoping someone gets fired up. It's
Right.
different.
Oh yeah. And I feel like when I first started fly fishing, I'd always tie stuff on out
Yeah.
here that was just way too big. And
Mhm.
then it took me so long to get used to tying on flies that you can barely even get
Yeah.
like 6x tippet through the eyelid on, because they're so small. And for most of the year, like especially fishing over in Deckers, where I probably fish the most, if you're not that kind of stuff, you're probably not catching fish.
Oh,
So that this year is like the biggest change for me, going up and fishing some of these higher flow rivers, is really sizing up and putting some bright colors down there
yeah,
for them to see. And
absolutely.
yeah, and just fishing the same spot too. Like you really have to get those flies right in front of the fish for them to eat
Yeah.
it. Right, they're not going to see it if it's 6 inches away from them. So you really just got to be thorough too, and all those slow seams, and fish them every inch of it, out from all the way out into the river, all the way back to the bank, to make sure you get that fly in front of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. And like a lot of times like this time of the year, I don't know if you do a lot of streamer fishing. I've recently just got into it like about last year in the fall time. I was like, I knew what
Yeah,
streamer fishing was, of course, but like I never
right.
like did it. And I started and dude, I'm really into it. Like probably 90% of the time I'm going out this time of the year, I'm just streamer fishing. And it's like you're moving a lot of fish. You're
Yeah.
potentially catching bigger fish because, bigger flies, bigger fish, which isn't true. But I always tell myself that. But yeah, streamers
Oh
are
yeah.
huge in the driftless. Are you hucking those a lot or is it kind of staying away from that?
I started to more. It's one of those things too, right? It's so big and different than
Mhm.
what I've like learned how to fly fish on.
Yeah.
So it's intimidating. Like I'm so used to now throwing on a weighted nymph rig with
Yeah.
three flies, an indicator, and working stuff methodically and carefully, and then to go and tie on a big old articulated
Yeah.
streamer with a weighted line or weighted leader and start
Yeah.
pulling that around. So I've tried to get. So there's a lot of times I would just not do it. I think out of a lack of confidence in my
Yeah.
ability to catch fish on it.
Mhm.
But I've started to do more of it, and that's definitely a tactic in these higher flow waters, is to get a big, colorful, bright streamer on and start dragging it through some of those slack water holes and getting it in
Yeah.
front of fish.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to cover a lot of ground too. Like you said, you can huck that thing around. And so yeah, I'm not huge into it. I've got a
Mhm.
few, and I'm starting to throw more, and it's
Yeah.
definitely fun. It's
It is fun.
fun feeling them when you're stripping it and you get a
Oh,
bite and
dude.
you can tell it's chasing your fly. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's electric. Like, besides, I think I will always tell you, like, a dry fly eats my favorite because it's just you're doing everything right if that's what's happening. But
Oh
a
yeah,
streamer it's a close second because yeah, you'll just be
yeah,
stripping and you can just sometimes just see them come out of nowhere, especially in like that darker, dirty water. If you can strip on the edge of that, they'll just smoke it, and it's like, holy cow, this is sick. But
streamer
it's
fishing is so
definitely
cool.
different. I mean, it's as close to conventional fishing as you can get. I mean,
Right.
in theory, you're throwing a
Yeah.
lure, right? So it's like, some
Yeah.
purists will be like, yeah, that's not fly fishing, but I still think it is, and I think it's still pretty fun.
Yeah, they're the same. Some of those people are the same ones that'll say throwing a nymph rig isn't fly fishing either. If it's on a
Exactly.
dry, it doesn't count.
Exactly. Which, all the power to you. That's great, but I'm going out with everything I possibly can. Nymphing, dry fly, streamer rod. I'm bringing all three with me most of the time
Right?
during
I,
this time of the
I
year.
I just want to catch fish. I don't care what I have to do
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And then I know we've talked a little bit about like setups and what you use a lot. Are you typically using out in that area this time of the year? Are you typically sticking to like a 9 foot 5 weight, or are you finding yourself kind of up in that game or
Yeah, usually 9 foot 5 weight.
yeah.
On some bigger stuff that I fished with my buddy. I've fished with a 6 weight before, but I
Hmm.
really my 9 foot 5 weight. And I've caught some pretty decent sized fish
Oh
on it.
yeah.
I've never felt that it's been too bad. One thing I haven't done yet is float. I really want to go out and float some streams with one of my buddies,
Yeah.
and on that one, throwing some bigger some bigger streamers on some of those bigger rivers. I'm sure a little bit bigger of a rod will probably help make those
Hmm.
days a little bit more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this time of year, definitely more on the 5 foot 9 weight, and then or 5 weight, 9 foot 5 weight,
Yep.
and then the rest of it, though, especially in some of the smaller stuff and the flows are down. I'm definitely more of a 3 weight person. I've caught a couple 17, 18 inch rainbows on a 3 weight, and it is so much fun. And like,
That'd be fun.
yeah, and it's so that's like my 3 weight is my go-to, but this time of year,
Damn.
definitely on the 5 weight.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've chatted before about your 3 weight. That's interesting, man. I did buy one after talking to you a little bit, and I'm still getting used to it. It's definitely something that it's a little different for me, and I'm like, okay, this is. But when you do hook into something, it's like it's there, and I haven't caught 18 inch. I mean, every time I take that one out, I'm in like literally creeks that are 2 feet wide because I'm just going after little brookies.
Yeah.
And it works great for that, but that's cool that you're hucking around a 3 weight. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. When I when I actually caught those two, it was on a day I was fishing in 11 Mile Canyon, actually,
Okay.
which is down south by the springs. And the fish I was catching are normally 10, 12 inches, but it
Yeah.
was a hot summer day and there was a ton of grasshoppers out. So I tied on a big hopper and threw it up next to a rock, and it got demolished by this rainbow. And it took me probably 300 yards downstream and probably
Really?
about 10 or 15 minutes to get it to the net. But God, it was fun
Dude,
on the three
that's
weight.
that's
So
electric.
cool.
Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah, especially on that 3 weight. Probably feel like your steelhead fishing just took off with
Oh,
you.
yeah.
That's sweet, man. I just recently got a 9 foot 8 weight for streamers, so that's really what I've
Yeah.
been using a lot. And then I'll bring the it's actually a 7 foot 3 weight, so it's much
Yeah.
smaller, and it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
whoa, this is like it's tight. I'm
Yeah.
right here, but it's like if I catch something big with this, it's gonna be electric.
Yeah.
But I
It's
have
nice on
not.
the smaller. It's nice on the smaller streams too. It gives you a little bit more leeway
Yeah,
when you're casting. But
absolutely.
I definitely can feel it with my rod when I do throw streamers that
Mhm.
it gets to be tiresome after an hour or two of it, and it'd be nice to have a
Yeah,
7, 8 weight rod
yeah.
for throwing those.
Yeah, they are nice. They're bulky, obviously, because they're bigger and like pulling them around the driftless sometimes is like this thing is too big, but it's pretty fun. I've been enjoying using it. I got it for steelhead and tried that and it didn't have any
Yeah,
success, but continue to do that every year, go up in the fall and the spring to the
yeah.
North Shore and try to catch one of
I
those
know.
beauties.
I need to get back, and we need to go
You
do
do.
that. I can't
Yeah.
believe we never did that growing up.
I know.
Now that
I
I know about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, literally lived in Duluth for 6 years and I didn't fly fish, so I was just a dumb college student. And it's like, dude, you were living in prime country. What were you
Oh
thinking?
yeah,
I
that
guess
would have been
I had
awesome.
other things on my mind, I guess, which whatever. But
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that's awesome, man. And then we've kind of hit on this a couple times too, but I know you went out, I think about 2 weeks ago. Do you find yourself having success in this time of the year out in your water? Like, is it as successful as the best time of the year, like let's say early fall, or are you finding yourself struggling this time of the year out there?
So definitely struggling more now. The flows are really starting to get up.
Mm,
But I think that timing, that sweet spot right after winter, and the flows start to pick up, and right before it gets to be at the extreme point where it's dark chocolate milk and flowing way too fast to even walk in. So we're starting to get to that point where I think the fishing is going to be really tough for
good.
a couple of weeks. But the past 3 weeks, I kind of hit the trail edge of that spring before the runoff really hits, and God, we had some amazing fishing.
Looked fun.
Uh, I was up on the Arkansas about
Mhm.
3 weeks ago, and my girlfriend and I probably caught 20 fish, 25 fish, and I would say every single one of them was 15 inches or bigger, and the
Yeah.
biggest probably being an 18 or 19-inch brown. And yeah, it was a really good time. And then, yeah, I've gone and fished a few other spots since then, and that was probably the best day we've had. And we went up and fished the Eagle River this last weekend, and the fishing was tough. It was basically at full blown runoff where
Ugh.
every you walk a couple hundred yards and only a few spots you can actually fish because the flows are so high. So it's definitely getting tougher, and I think it'll probably be like that now for a good little bit. But one good thing is when we were up in the mountains, it was 75 degrees and sunny, which means that all that snow is going to melt, and it's probably going to melt quick. So hopefully, and that and the lack of snowpack, hopefully it doesn't last too long. But yeah, right now the fishing is definitely, for me, in my experience and how much I know about it, is going to be the hardest fishing probably for
Yeah.
the next month.
Yeah.
And that, I'm really excited for that beginning of July for everything to start opening back up and getting up into the high country stuff again.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that's interesting. I remember we've chatted before, and you say like, yeah, that July, like August, just a really good time to fish out
Oh
there, which is
yeah,
like kind of like opposite, like in the Driftless, like July comes around, I'll still go because I'm gonna go, but like, dude, you have so much vegetation growing. You got
yeah,
just overgrown. It's brutal and it's hot. It's like, what am I doing out here? But
yeah,
yeah, you get to late-ish August, then the hoppers start, and it's like, okay, this
yeah.
is awesome. You can hopper
Oh yeah,
fish until Nova, well, not November, but mid to early-ish October, you can hopper
yeah,
fish, and that's my favorite, man.
right.
I absolutely love hopper
Yeah,
fishing.
yeah. That is the best. Oh yeah, and there's nothing better than tying on a big chubby
Oh
Chernobyl
yeah.
and just hucking that thing around all day.
Yeah, because like you don't have to delicately place it. Like the hoppers are pathetic in the air, so
Right.
you can just like
Oh
send it
yeah.
out there and just boop. Oh, I can't
Yep.
wait for that. I've been thinking about hopper season. It's like I wonder when it's gonna hit here because I mean it's a
Oh
ways out, obviously. But right now
yeah.
we're getting into the caddises around here. The BWOs are still popping off the caddises. I mean it's May, so kind of typical caddis season. So there's a lot of dry fly opportunities, but I'm ready for hopper season.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those it's fun catching them on dry flies, but it's a lot more fun catching them on big dry flies.
It is, yeah, especially to just watch them come up and
Yeah,
crush like that. Awesome, man. Well, cool. Those are really the
yeah,
majority of the questions I have for you. Hopefully, I will be out there in Colorado in November. Not for a fishing trip, but
yeah,
I got the okay to at least spend one day fishing. So we'll definitely have to get out.
yeah. Definitely, when you make it out, just let me know, and we'll get a plan together, and I'll come grab you, and we'll go hit something up and go
Yeah.
hopefully catch a bunch of fish for sure.
Oh, yeah. If not, it's still fun to get out and fish some new water and hang out a little bit. So not worried about that.
Heck yeah,
And then when you're back in
yeah. It'll be
Minnesota too,
fun.
feel free to hit me up. I'm always around, so I'd definitely love to get out and catch some
Yeah,
fish in the driftless with you.
for sure. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna actually be home for a couple of weeks,
Okay.
just working remote and doing some things back home. So I'm gonna try to bring my fly rod back and
Do it.
everything. So
Yeah. Yeah. If not, I got plenty of fly rods. You can bum one. We can definitely get out and see if we can catch a few.
hell yeah, that'd be
Awesome.
awesome.